The Catch, read by John Mark Clausen. Ivan was woken by the crowing of his cat. This was nothing new. He opened his eyes to find Uni standing on his chest, her mottled face inches from his, her demanding purr drilling into his ribcage through her paws. He lifted a numb hand and rubbed her cheek. "Sleep," he whispered. It was a hopeful plea, feebly delivered. Uni's reply, a loud and indignant meow, was an order. This could only mean one thing. Ivan sat up, scooped Uni to the floor, and pulled on a t-shirt. She waited for him to stand, then led him down to the kitchen, herding his slow bare feet in dangerously tight circles. Uni was a hunter, and experience told Ivan she'd got something to show him. He hoped it was a mouse or a vole. At least they were always dead. He'd had too many stunned, lopsided sparrows flapping around his kitchen. One robin, several blackbirds, usually downy fledglings with wide beaks and tails that hadn't even grown yet. Last time, she caught a magpie. It was bigger than her body, yet she still picked it up to present to him. Its pitiful cack, 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 its only protest. He'd had to put that one out of its misery. He put all of them out of their misery. A stamp to the head, the tiniest cracking of skull, blood and feathers on the ground. It was kinder that way. The kitchen was quiet. The small, heaped body on the mat by the cat flap didn't seem to be moving. These were all good signs. White fur. What is that? A rat? No, not a rat. A cat. Smaller than a cat. A kitten. Ivan stared at Uni. She circled the kitten's body, stepping over its limp legs without even looking, her eyes fixed on him. Waiting for what? He crouched down for a closer look. The kitten's eyes were open. Blue, pink nose, pink ears, so fluffy. The cutest thing. "We're on to kittens now, Uni?" Uni meowed. Ivan pushed himself up and went to get a towel. When he returned, the kitten was scrambling at the mat with its front paws, trying to drag itself up. Its back legs lay helplessly on the floor. "No, no, no." Ivan dropped down next to the kitten. "Shh. It's okay. It's okay." Tears blurred his vision. He stroked the kitten with the side of his finger. "Don't move, okay? Just don't try to move." But the kitten wouldn't stop struggling, suffering. Ivan clinched the towel, then draped it over the kitten's head. He stood and raised his foot. It would have to be a good one. Harder even than a magpie. One and done. The kitten's skull was softer than he expected. It caved easily, the thin bones crackling and fizzing with bubbling blood. The wet towel stuck to his heel as he lifted it, unveiling the bloody mess he'd made, and he quickly replaced it, shutting his eyes hard to try to erase the sight. It didn't work, of course. Ivan slumped to the floor as Uni padded over to inspect the darkening towel. Blood trickled along the groove of the floor tiles, and she lowered her head to lap it hungrily. Ivan pushed her away. "Not for you, Uni." He just needed a moment. He sat in silence until he could no longer hear his own breathing, until Uni stopped pacing and sat grudgingly opposite him, until the blood slowed and started to dry. Finally, he shifted onto his knees and lifted the kitten in both hands. Its floppy body barely as big as his palms. He left the towel on the floor. He'd need it to clean up later. He held the kitten against his chest, partly as an apology, partly so he wouldn't have to see it, and made his way back to the bedroom with Uni in soft pursuit. Nola was awake. Not even she could sleep through Uni's wake-up calls. She was sitting up, cross-legged, thumbing her phone, but put it down on the bedside table as soon as Ivan walked in. "I thought I heard something going on," she said, smiling. Uni jumped up on the bed and Noah leaned forward to nuzzle her nose. "Have you brought something for Mummy?" Ivan perched on the edge of the bed and placed the kitten on the duvet. "Did you order this?" he asked. His voice sounded shakier than usual. "Didn't I mention it?" She started pulling at the fur. She hadn't mentioned it. Ivan would have remembered. He lay down and closed his eyes, listening to her tearing the kitten's skin. "Thanks, babe," she said, between chews. "No worries," said Ivan. "Anything for you."
Welcome to Poe's Curiosity Shop. There you go, Alice. What's this object, do you think?
Well, it's quite heavy, and it feels like maybe, I think perhaps it's metal of some sort. It's like an Asian animal, but I'm not sure.
What animal do you think it might be?
It's perhaps a Chinese dragon?
Quite a dragon.
Or a lion with wings?
You're right.
A winged lion?
Lion dog, actually.
Oh, right. Of course.
You were right about Asian, a Chinese bronze lion dog statue.
With wings.
With wings. One of a pair originally donated to August Public Library by Lord Worthing, but later sold to raise funds. The library burned down 3 weeks after their sale. Would you believe it?
Wow.
They normally come in pairs and have many uses. But when used correctly in a pair, it's feng shui, guards against evil.
Oh, wow.
That's what can happen when you sell something that guards against evil.
I think I'd quite like to have a guard against evil.
Particularly in August at the moment. Poe's Curiosity Shop is now closed.
Open at Midnight by Martin Oten, read by Lacia Finley. The old man hobbled slowly down the street, leaning heavily on his tripod-ended walking stick. He paused to pull his tattered overcoat more tightly around his thin body as the bitter east wind blew litter around his spindly legs. He pulled his cap down more firmly, blew on his fingers, then resumed his painful progress. From the doorway of the boarded-up shop across the street, two young men watched. The low cloud had brought the day to a premature dusk, and the cold wind had driven people off the streets, and this old-timer was out late. The youths nodded to each other, took final swigs from their cans of beer, and strolled blithely down the pavement, tracking the pensioner. The old man reached the entrance to an alleyway that led down past the churchyard. Halfway down the alley was a patch of deep shadow where the street lamp had been vandalized. He paused for a moment, then turned into the narrow entrance. The young men looked up and down the street, then lengthening their strides, stepped into the road. The first time scared the shit out of me. Night after night, I dreamt of bloody, violent death, and if I tried to stay awake, I slipped into a twilight world where I hallucinated the deaths of those around me. So I did it. Long after midnight, I went down to the churchyard where the winos hung out. There was a good chance one of them would be sleeping it off in some quiet, sacred corner. I found one, opened the gates of madness, and experienced the beast's feeding frenzy for the first time. It changed my life. Easy to say, harder to live through. A magnitude 8 earthquake shattered my world. I took an overdose enough to kill me 5 times over. I suspect I survived because the beast wasn't ready to relinquish its post. I spent 7 weeks at a mental institution trying to rebuild my life, to find a way to live with the intolerable. At first they tried to get me to talk about it. I couldn't tell them what had driven me to breaking point, the fear of discovery or the endless replays in my head. So they loaded me up with antipsychotics, smothering my brain in cotton wool, and sat me in a corner while they decided their observations. Then they sent me back into the world with a letter for my physician and a bottle of tranquilizers. I was very, very lucky I was not connected with the police manhunt after the body was found. Maybe it's true that the devil looks after his own. Tonight's the night. It's been building up in me for the last 8 days, so tonight I'll go looking for trouble. The gates of madness open at midnight. There's no point in trying to fight it, so I have to try and keep as much control as I can. Out there, it's a chill night, and there's been rain, so I can keep the hood up on my parka without looking suspicious on the surveillance cameras. I take the train down to King's Cross, more anonymous than the tube, and fewer cameras. Hold up the hood and walk out into the rain. The Pentonville Road beckons, and I lose myself in the dingy side streets. It's late, chucking out time in the pubs when the punters headed for the takeaway kebabs and dog meat curries. The few bedraggled tarts stand in doorways offering their tawdry charms without conviction. A taxi speeds by me, splashing me with spray from the puddles in the road. I weave and stumble a bit, just a bloke who's had a skinful and is asking to get rolled. I feel hostile eyes on the back of my head as I head towards the dark end of the street. Footsteps behind me, soft, but to my heightened awareness, nearly deafening. Is this the one? I slow down, give an innocent passerby the chance to save himself. The footsteps slow. Within me, the beast snarls and slobbers in anticipation. A couple walk on the other side of the street, engrossed in each other. The footsteps behind me cease. I sense he has slipped into the dark of a doorway. The distraction passes, and the game resumes. He thinks he is stalking me, but I have a greater need of a quiet corner than he. From the clatter of the footsteps, there is only one person following me. That is good. I don't know how many the beast could take. I once watched it overwhelm 3 skinheads who thought I was their victim, and they were young, strong, and used to getting stuck in. It was worse the second time. I'd convinced myself I was over it, that I was okay, that I could live a normal life. Wrong. So wrong. At least I knew what to do when the dream started. I was able to prepare, get some clothes together, do a bit of reconnaissance. I couldn't count on being so lucky a second time. It still tore my head apart when the beast came through. I tried to defy the beast a couple of times, but I learned pretty soon that it was futile. I've had to cut myself off from any close relationships if I wanted to have any kind of worthwhile lifestyle. A steady girlfriend or a wife is out of the question. I simply cannot afford to have anyone around when the beast wakes. Casual relationships have foundered on this rock. "You won't let anyone get close to you" is a phrase I've heard more than a few times. It's true, and of course, I will not tell them why. There's no predictable pattern to it. Years can go on quietly, but I once had to feed the beast twice in 6 weeks. I usually get about a week's warning, so clearly holidays are out. I dare not be anywhere where I don't know the ground well. Work was difficult, so I went freelance as soon as I could manage to earn enough to make ends meet. Then at least that worked out pretty well. Programming makes me good money. I can work from home, and no one misses me if I drop out of circulation for a week or two. I find myself wondering how many others there are out there. How many beasts? Or am I just one amongst many vehicles for a single slayer? There surely must be others. I cannot believe I am unique amongst all mankind, and if I am, then why me? I've tried to be discriminating in my victims. No true innocents have been fed to the beast, though that first time was pretty close. But everyone since has put themselves in my path. It's a way to live with the monstrosity of it. It's barbaric, but at least I tell myself the slayer only takes those that the world is better off without. I find a good spot. the entrance to a yard, deep in shadow, under dark walls with a shuttered double door, just a drunk taking a piss, I stagger into the killing ground. For a moment, I think the footsteps are going to pass, but he, and it is always he, is just being careful before he doubles back. I take my time, leaning forward, hands on hips. The slayer quivers with anticipation within me. Hey, mate, you got a light? His voice is higher pitched than I expected, nerves making him speak, perhaps. I turn slowly as if I'm a little off balance. Sorry, I don't smoke. I look him in the face. He looks rough. Sweating, even though it's after midnight and cool. His eyes are glazed over with large pupils. The spots on his neck seem to shine in the distant neon. I can smell his breath, sour with the stink of rotting teeth. A smackhead, I guess, in need of his medicine. Well, he had more choices about his life than me. Fuck you! Give me the money! He pulls out the knife from inside his jacket, 8 inches, big enough to skewer an elephant. And I'm relieved. I needed to see the threat. I relax and open the gates, let the slayer come through. Ringside seat as the Terminator or Bruce Lee or Mike Tyson or all three combined takes control of my body and pours through it. The wild exhilaration of the beast sets my senses on fire, even though I'm riding pillion. The hunter now becomes the hunted, freezes. My hand seize him with strength many times my own. My right hand crushes his larynx as the left reaches the knife from his, dislocating his elbow. Blood gushes from his mouth and nose. I turn his head away to avoid the spray and feel his neck break under my hand. The beast drinks in his life force as it spills out, greedily lapping it like a cat at pool of spilt milk. A great warm surge of energy courses through me, just a trickle of the stream the slayer is drawing in. The broken body crumbles in my grasp. He has fouled himself. I can smell the shit mingled with the hot blood. I toss the body away, expecting it to flutter in the air, the torn wrapper of a toothsome morsel. The ecstasy fades, recalling me to the coldness of the night. Time to get out of here. Not running. That draws attention. Walk briskly and purposefully away from the broken heap in the shadows. A long walk to the night bus. Past a couple of stops. Missing one bus. A thin drizzle mists the streetlight. I pull my hood closer, seeking anonymity, meeting no eyes as I walk. None of them knowing an almost post-orgasmic lethargy fills me as I wait in the rain. By the time the night bus arrives, the high has passed, leaving me drained and depressed. And as I think about the weeks ahead of me, the paranoid wait to see if they're going to catch me this time, I pay the driver and head for the back of the bus, sit by a window and watch London go by through the grimy glass. Then there's another long walk through the rain, the tiredness dragging on my legs and muscles taut with cramp. Safe home at last. A one-bedroom flat in the most anonymous block I could find. I relax in a warm bath and wonder whether they've found the body yet. I feel the satiated slumber of the beast, and the memory of the assault grows hazy. I long to sleep myself, but everything must be put in order. The clothes I wore are bagged and ready for disposal. I'll take them to the dump tomorrow first thing. Then I'll need to trawl through the charity shops ready for the next time. Because there will be a next time, and another after that. Hopefully I'll get a bit of peace, and my life can be normal for a while, but in the longer term I can see no end to it. I know I can't resist the Slayer's needs, and I have no idea how long it will continue, so I am left with the image of myself 60 years from now, battering a victim with my walking frame to feed the beast. The old man walked down the alley as fast as his arthritis would allow him. He was looking forward to a good long soak in a hot bath to restore the circulation to his extremities, and after that, well, he needed a new coat anyway. He wondered how many times more he would have to do this. It had been a good while since the last. Maybe now he was so frail the beast would release him and grant him peace in his final years. Surely it owed him that. In his heart, he doubted it was over. In 6 years, the Slayer had never been merciful. Back in the deep shadow, beneath the broken street lamp, lay the bodies of 2 young men.
Welcome to Poe's Curiosity Shop. So, what do we have here?
Well, this is certainly interesting. This, I would say you have to hold with 2 hands. And so I'd say it's heavy because it's made out of metal. And also there's some color on there as well. I think it's like a green. It's like green paint with some engraving on it.
Yes, what kind of situation or scene do we have depicted there? What do you think?
Well, what I think I can see is perhaps 2 people in combat.
Could be combat.
Maybe they're hugging.
It's funny that you mentioned combat first, because most people actually think this is an erotic scene. And then the second point you made was that it might be people hugging, but apparently most people think it shows an erotic scene. This is one of many painted leaden plates from the Khazars, and as such it's over 1,000 years old. And it's not an erotic scene, it's not people hugging, it's not combat. It's actually a man grabbing the heart of a woman directly from her chest.
He sounds great.
Yeah, what a nice guy. It was a practice that was thought of as surgery at the time, but it never really ended well. That's kind of quite a literal broken heart.
I can imagine.
Poe's Curiosity Shop is now closed.
You're listening to Radio August. Dark Nights with Poe and Monroe.
Arms Wide, read by Adam Day. From this height, nighttime London sparkles. Arms wide, I dive from the roof of the Mandela Tower block. Gravity accelerates me towards the pavement, 32 stories below. Tenzin taught me that the secret was to never hit the ground. There's a blue steel dumpster at the back of the Dreamtime Hotel on 39th Street, Queens. Was home for a while. Woke up one morning to find Tenzin rooting around in there. Words were spoken, fists were raised. The truth is, there was enough food for 2, and I needed the company. Between us, we slept in shifts to guard that dumpster and chase the rest of the street off. That spring, we lucked out with a broken fire door, easy access to the stairwells, the room service carts, and a roof with a view to die for. In our idle chatter, I pieced together fragments of Tenzin's story. A former monk, expelled for some scandal involving a woman. I guess that's how most of them fall. He had wisdom, though. Of that I have no doubt. The night Tenzin left, he taught me how the universe worked. I close my eyes as the concrete rises up to embrace me. There are infinite realities, he said, and we always exist in the one we believe is most true. The roof of the Dreamtime Hotel was littered with Tenzin's white cigarette butts, like scattered finger bones. He gave me one long final grin. And I believe I'm immortal. I watched him jump, red and gold robes billowing in the wind, shimmering into nothingness long before the ground. Scent is always the first sense to return. Salt air assaults my nostrils. I arrived to a cacophony of traffic, stood upon the side of the Golden Gate Bridge, the sun sliding into the Pacific. The view is breathtaking. still not home. I climb over the 4-foot fence onto the railings below. Arms wide, I dive.
Welcome to Poe's Curiosity Shop. Okay, Alice, this is what I brought in today. What do you think it is?
Oh, wow.
Tell the listeners a bit more about what the object is that I brought in today.
So it's quite small, fits in the palm of your hand, and it's a small man wearing robes, and he looks like he's in quite a lot of pain.
Yes. Where could he be from, this man?
I'm not sure, actually. He's maybe a Buddhist?
Yeah, could be, yes.
What
would you say is his profession?
Something religious, I suppose. He's wearing robes. He's wearing a monk, yes.
Well done.
But why is he in pain?
Very good question. I can answer that for you. It's a porcelain figure, ancient Chinese, seated and howling.
Oh.
It's called the Screaming Monk. Legend has it that this monk, called Busan, accidentally glimpsed Queen Ankhesenamun undressing, the wife of King Tut. The king ordered that Busan be shrunk by mystics, and the process caused the pain you see on his face. These tattoos are a reminder that some things are best left unseen. Several were made, apparently. But as far as I can tell, I have the only one.
Well, I wish I hadn't seen this. Dreams.
And nightmares.
With Poe and Monroe. So we've just had a dream come in from Lena. Well, if I'm honest, Lena, it sounds a bit of a nightmare.
Nightmares.
Firstly, thank you for writing this one in. She says, I dream that I'm in a strange house, but in the dream it's my house, and I'm discovering lots of empty rooms I'd forgotten I had. Every time I find a new room, there's another room leading off it. But then I start noticing all these holes in the room, big dark holes in the walls with bugs crawling out of them until the whole room is covered in bugs. I don't know about you, Poe, but I don't really like the sound of that very much.
That is very creepy, but it's kind of my territory. It's very Poe-esque.
Absolutely.
Different rooms, different areas, different parts of her life. They're all these different, perhaps different aspects of her life have holes in them. So all these different parts have issues or unresolved issues that have not been filled and have not been repaired. So I think perhaps she's experiencing issues in different aspects of her life, and it's a perpetual circle of negativity that happens in each aspect of her life. That's why she hasn't filled those holes.
Well, what I can tell you is that houses represent your soul and sense of self. So then the rooms, they represent potential.
Potential.
So you're quite correct in what you're saying about filling up different aspects of her life and things like that. And I think what the bugs represent are the anxieties and the fears. Now, Lena, it sounds like you're worried that you're not living up to your potential. And if I'm honest, I think you're also plagued by insecurities about your ability, perhaps, to be the person you wish you could be. But Lena, the thing is, if you can wish it, you can do it. Thank you for your dreams. Dreams.
And nightmares.
With Poe and Monroe. Okay, so we've heard from Alex, and Alex has said that they have the same dream every night. Now, it's a woman lying in a lake with her eyes closed and her black hair streaming beneath the surface. She must be dead. No one can breathe that long underwater. Then she opens her eyes, and I realize it's not her that's underwater. I mean, this one sounds quite dark and complex, Alex, so we really, really thank you for sharing this with us. Now, Poe, do you have any ideas what this might represent?
The closing of the eyes, I mean, that's interesting. So she wants to at least the person she's observing in the dream is not, or does not want to face the world. And then when she opens her eyes, it's not her. So it's almost the person who's dreaming is trying to project onto the other person that they're closing themselves off from the world, perhaps, but then they're realizing they're doing it themselves.
You know, Poe, I think you're actually getting a lot better at this.
Thank you very much.
So, obviously, once again, Alex, thank you very much for sharing this one with us. I would love to talk about this one in further detail because actually it's dealing with something that's quite emotional, because the imagery of the lake, actually, it relates to your emotional state of mind. And now, the black hair in this dream actually also relates to the repression of emotion. And then the drowning actually relates to emotional stress. So if I'm honest, Alex, and I hope you're listening to me now, I believe that perhaps something is weighing heavily on your mind, and perhaps it's a secret about someone else that you have. Perhaps it's something that you share, and it's something that you have in common. And obviously, as we know, repression of emotion can be quite bad for the soul. So I really hope that, Alex, that you find someone to reach out to. But thank you again for sharing with us.
Oh, I'm so impressed again, Monroe. You're so observant.
I try.
Hopefully, this lady can take something from this.
Thank you for your dreams. Dreams
And nightmares.
with Poe and Monroe. So Simeon's written in to say, I'm climbing the stairs of a tall stone tower, and it just keeps going up and up and up. And I always wake up before I reach the top. What do you think, Poe?
Well, that is quite an interesting dream. I would say here's someone who wants to reach heights that they've never seen, and I think they're very ambitious, and they might be a little over-ambitious.
Well, I can in fact tell you that a tower does in fact symbolize a quest for understanding.
Understanding?
And climbing stairs can show that you're achieving your goals.
Oh, so he is achieving his goals.
So, what I think is happening here is that you are striving for success, but you don't feel worthy of it. And it could be you're suffering from imposter syndrome, which is actually quite a common thing to suffer from. But what I can say to you, Simeon, is that you need to start believing in yourself. It's very important that you believe in yourself, and if good things happen to you, then please just embrace them. Embrace them and keep moving forward and keep striving for the best. Thank you for your dreams. So, what I can see here are 3 small metal bells attached to what looks like a square, metal square, and then it kind of looks like the tag you get in the zipper.
Oh, you were right about the metal. It's bronze again.
Bronze again. Okay. The bells are very cute.
Mm-hmm.
They've got small engraving on them.
What kind of objects normally have bells?
Cowbells.
Hmm.
No? What else has bells? I want to say a Christmas tree, but I feel like...
Well, these are spirit chimes.
Oh.
These ones have an inverted full crown, which gives a ghastly sound. We're not going to reproduce that here now. It's like a bell ringing in reverse. The purpose of most spirit chimes is to keep spirits away, as you might know. However, these ones are to invite spirits in.
Oh.
Unfortunately, they don't work. I mean, I've had them hanging up at the station for a few months now. Unless, Monroe, have you noticed any spirits turning up at the station lately?
So does it just invite bad spirits, or...?
Not necessarily bad spirits, just could be good spirits. Yeah, I think I'm going to sell that one. There's no other use for it. Thanks, Monroe. As always, you've been a great sport today. Today I've brought in a really cool object. So what might this be, Monroe?
Well, it definitely looks like an alien. And from what I can see, it's like a alien, I suppose, with 2 alien babies. And then it's wearing a hat. And it's made of stone. They kind of look like semi-precious black eyes. They kind of look like lizards with a hat on.
Yeah, I mean, you were making a very good point there with the alien look. But it's quite an ancient object, isn't it? It's not modern.
Not at all.
This one is a sculpture that was found along with several others, similar sculptures, in a tunnel of caves in Mexico. Oh, I picked it up on eBay. It's supposed to be proof that aliens have visited our planet already, or at least Mexico.
Now that's a thought.
But, you know, I just thought it looked nice. Don't you think so?
I think it's beautiful. But slightly frightening that it's from so long ago.
To be honest, it might just have been someone imagining that that's what aliens look like. Or it could be an observation. Someone actually countering someone who looks like this.
Perhaps.
Welcome to Poe's Curiosity Shop. All right, so what have we here today?
I actually think this one's a little bit clearer than other ones we've had on previous shows. This one is also heavy, because everything seems to be made out of wood and metal. So this one has got a heavy metal handle, and then it's got a circular face, and what looks like could have perhaps been maybe a shiny metal. And
Where do you think it's from?
Where is it from?
Area?
Oh,
Where in the world is this from?
Europe?
No.
Just trying to think.
A while ago we had a story from this part of the world as well. Do you remember?
China?
No.
Mexico?
No.
I mean, we could just name every country you've ever had on the show.
Do you remember the queen who was undressing? It's from there. Egypt.
Oh, it's from Egypt.
Yes. So, I'll explain it to you. It's more about what you can do. What do you think you might do with the mirror?
If I'm honest, at first, because of the handle, I thought maybe a weapon of combat. But then if I look at it more closely, I would say a mirror, a handheld mirror.
You're right. Well done, Monroe.
Wow.
But it's not just a mirror. It's something you might do your makeup in or check your hairstyle. By the way, you have impeccable hairstyle today.
Thank you very much,
as usual. It is a reflecting mirror, but it was used for teleportation. Allegedly, you could look in the mirror, close your eyes, think of being somewhere else, and you're there.
Should we try it now?
No, I've tried it. It doesn't work for me.
Oh.
Maybe it works for you. You try it.
Okay, so I'm just going to imagine somewhere else. And...
She's gone, listeners. It's amazing. No, she hasn't.
We're only joking.
She's still here. Yeah, she's still here. I can't do this show without her.
And I can't do it without you, Poe.
Oh, that's so nice.
So, Helen's written in with her dream. And she said that I was a caterpillar, slowly nibbling on a pair of purple curtains in my bedroom. The sun goes down, and I feel my skin shedding in the darkness. I huddle down and wait for the sunrise, hoping to become a butterfly. But when the sun comes up, I'm still a caterpillar. Now, Poe, what do you think that dream could mean?
Very interesting. So she is a caterpillar, but I would think she wants to change into something else. But because she turns back into her original shape, she basically can't really change. So perhaps she's someone who wants to change, but somehow goes back to her old ways.
You know what? You are so close, Poe. So, Helen, firstly, thank you very much for writing in and speaking to us. I would like to just say to you that what I think is that you want to reveal something private about your life, but you're worried that when you do, you will still be as ordinary as you were before, because the skin shedding relates to personal transformation. So Gabby said that she's grocery shopping, and when she finally gets to the checkout, there's a huge queue. Now, when she gets to the cashier, she realizes she's left her money at home. And then the cashier makes her put everything back on the shelves, but it never ends. And every time she comes back to the cart, it seems more full than before. Wow. I do like dreams like this, Poe. Please tell me what you think about this one.
Yeah, so, again, there's someone stuck in a loop. I find that always interesting. So it's an unresolved issue.
Very good.
That's something you could say about most dreams that are recurring dreams.
Of course.
There's an unresolved issue here, but it's related to shopping, and I'm wondering what the shopping stands for, whether it's probably not literal, as you know, Monroe. You've interpreted so many dreams. What makes me, she made her put everything back on the shelves. So it's almost someone puts a lot of effort into something, but they don't get redeemed for it. They have to put everything back the way it was.
You know what, Poe? I think you might need a promotion.
to deputy dream interpreter.
I mean, keep going the way you're going, and I might be out of a job.
Oh, we need you, Alice.
Well, so what I can tell you is shopping relates to needs and desires. So, Gabby, what you're having dreams about here, so it's your grocery shopping. So that in particular is a physical need for life. So what we're also dealing with here is the loss of money. What you'll often find with dreams is that the loss of money actually relates to a loss of self-identity. So Poe was very close with what he was saying, because the impression that I get from this dream and from your explanation of this dream is that perhaps, Gabby, you might always be giving more to other people than you receive. A relationship, perhaps, where you feel that others see you as someone else's significant other, rather than actually having your own identity as yourself. Now, for me personally, I believe that every relationship that you have with someone should be equal, and you should be loved for who you are. And maybe that is something that perhaps, Gabby, you might have to challenge in your life. What do you think, Poe?
That's some wonderful advice, Alice, and I think it's a lot of food for thought for this listener, and I hope she takes some wonderful lessons from it.
Thank you for your dreams.
Now, what could the object I've just handed to you be?
I have never seen anything like this. So, it feels heavy again. And I think, I want to say, it's wooden.
Yes.
And there's a handle, and then it kind of looks like a bell shape.
Mm-hmm, yeah.
Like a wooden bell with a large handle.
Yeah, it kind of looks like a non-functional wooden bell.
Yeah, but it's heavy, like really heavy.
Okay, I'm going to explain. The reason why it's heavy, it's in fact an Egyptian maul, which was used by craftsmen to carve temples. It's approximately 4,500 years old and comes from an ancient burial ground called Saqqara. This particular one has traces of the same limestone as the Great Sphinx of Giza. Well, that's what the man down the pub told me.
That's incredible.
Poe's Curiosity Shop is now closed. Welcome to Poe's Curiosity Shop. Today I've brought in a really cool object. So what might this be?
Well, it definitely looks like an alien. And from what I can see, it's like a alien, I suppose, with two alien babies. And then it's wearing a hat. And it's made of stone. They kind of look like semi-precious black eyes. They kind of look like lizards with a hat on.
Yeah, I mean, you were making a very good point there with the alien look. But it's quite an ancient object, isn't it? It's not modern.
Not at all.
This one is a sculpture that was found along with several others, similar sculptures, in a tunnel of caves in Mexico. Oh, I picked it up on eBay. It's supposed to be proof that aliens have visited our planet already, or at least Mexico.
Now that's a thought.
But, I just thought it looked nice. Did you think so?
I think it's beautiful. That's slightly frightening that it's from so long ago.
To be honest, it might just have been someone imagining that that's what aliens look like. Or it could be an observation, countering someone who looks like this.
Perhaps.
Poe's curiosity shop is now closed.